Hello, 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 Leo. This is G. You're watching Allastrology. We have an eclipse coming up. Yep, part two, right? We had the first eclipse at the end of October, last week of October. And then we have 2 weeks later, we have another eclipse because they always come as a pair. An eclipse doesn't travel alone, okay? Now, we also will be discussing in this video a new beginning, okay? Because it's a new moon coming around, right? And that'll be coming around towards the end of November, okay? So the first eclipse, which will be in Taurus, and then after I do that, looking at the astrology, because that's my thing first and foremost, you're going to get a card, all right? And then we'll do the new moon. I'll go over that, and I'll tell you where it happens in your life. Same with the eclipse, the where it happens, who may it involve, like, you know, what category. Is it work? Is it boss? Is it home? Is it family? Is it mom energy? Is it children? Is it love? Is it money? What is it? Let's find out together. Either way, after both, you get a card. So here we go. The eclipse, I'm literally staring right at the chart. What's interesting about this eclipse is that it involves some heavy hitters, okay? It involves the North Node, it involves Uranus, it involves the moon, right? So this is a lunar eclipse. So right away, when you hear me say lunar, you know that means it's a full moon because it's lunar, right? And so when we have full moons, we're looking at where's my pen? We're looking at the sun at one end and the moon at the other, and that's how we get our full moon. Did I say new moon? New moon's later. So this is a full moon eclipse. It's, you know, you look it up on NASA. That's what I go by. It's the full moon. It's the blood full moon eclipse because it may look red in the sky, right? For your location and where you're at. It's a typical autumn full moon, actually. But because it's close to the moon's nodes, it is an eclipse, right? So I won't go any further into the deep dive on the astrology terms. There's a video I already have out for that, which gives you the chart, which it's a deep dive. I'll link it below and you can watch that for more details. But this is for you, Leo, in the location of your life that is all about your ambitions and your goals, your career. Yeah. So it's kind of, you know, that 10th house placement, right? It's a location of someone's life where they just keep working at something. It's really, I have found, to be a vocation, meaning, yeah, not the vacation, but a vocation. So it's something where you may not even get paid to do it, but you see yourself always going back to this thing and working at it, like little by little, you work at it. Right now, obviously, if you're Leo, you probably don't do it in a little way. You do it in a very pronounced way because Leo wants to be bold, right? So this happening in your 10th house, this is your values, what you value and who you value. And it's Taurus energy. Yeah. So it's an eclipse in Taurus. Thing is knowing like what it's next to, because those are the other planetary bodies. And that tells us the kind of conversation. Think about the ingredients when you're in the kitchen throwing stuff in a pot. We can use that analogy here. So I've got a pot on the stove and I've got Uranus in that pot and it's in Taurus energy. So it's my money and my values. Think Venus, right? Think my desires, things that look good, that taste good, things that I can just things that, think about the senses, which is why I talk about cooking anytime we're going to talk about Taurus, because it's creature comforts, you know, the taste, the smell, the touch, the feel of something. And then we also know, you know, like esoterically, there's more than just, you know, the tangible feel of something. We can literally feel things we cannot physically see. Right. So that's that Taurian energy as well. Now, in your 10th house, Leo, goals, ambition, career, vocation. You're going to work at it and work at it and work at it. Even if nobody, like people may look at you and just be like, you know, whatever, you know, they may not get it or they may think it's, you know, it's just not their thing, but it doesn't matter to you. It won't matter to you, right? Because it's a value. You've got Taurus there. It's a value. It's, you know, Taurus is very fixed and it holds on to what it values. Values can be money, can be love, right? Taurian and Scorpio, because they run along the same line of energy. They tend to fixate sometimes, can even be, somebody recently used the word with me, attachments. Taurus and Scorpio energy, attachments. So you can energetically attach to something or someone, right? Or you can like emotionally attach, because there could be the combination of confusing my values with something that we have attachment issues with. So it was really super fascinating, and you know who you are when I spoke with you about this. And it took me a minute after the conversation for it to kind of sink into me in my brain about that. But so many times, especially females, because I have a very, very near and dear loved one next to me. Well, not physically next to me, but near and dear to my heart is what I guess I'm trying to say when I say next to me, where attachment and her ex spouse being attached to her in a very possessive, controlling way, and to the point where it's dangerous. But for her, and I know a lot of females out there, they confuse attachment and possession and control with love, right? And it's like, that's not love, right? And so this is that. This is going deep with that Taurus energy, right? Taurus and Scorpio, because they run along the same line of energy. So when we think about things that we could hold of value and be attached to them and refuse to budge from those values, right? And I'm only going deep dive on this for you, Leo, because it's in the 10th house of my goals and my ambitions. And many times, because it's Taurus, it's like, well, no, you can't change your mind on that. This is what you've worked for. This is what you stated was a value. This is, you've so much of your life, all your choices and options and decisions you've made evolved around this value based on um based on goals that you had that could had something to do with things that were based in, or I want to say rooted in is the word I'm really looking for, rooted in things, because opposite of your Taurus energy or 10th is Scorpio in the home. So it ends up being based in some of these emotional things. Yeah. Yeah. You see that? And so what happens is um, we end up being sometimes rooted, anchored. There's a connection that's not even visible sometimes, and it affects the goals and the ambitions, right? And then it could have another effect on our values, which could have an effect on our ability to make money, or just, to have a goal and to stick with the goal, or vice versa. It can go to either extreme. It can be something that we refuse to let go of, or we go wildly opposite, Scorpio, and we just let it all go. We're just like, screw it, I'm done, and it's out of my life. It's like a great, think of Pluto. It's a great, I'm just seeing like the garbage dump where a massive, what's the word I'm looking for, when we go through in our body, we're trying to cleanse, right? And so we have this major release energy, right? So I don't know why this came up to be so darn deep, but it just did. It was pretty sporadic. I do have my notes that I follow for all the readings, but that was coming in like a major release, and the swing of extremes possibly. So 10th house, career, goals, ambitions. Also recognize that 10th house, when somebody has like Taurus energy there, these are people who are in charge. This is some really strong boss energy, right? These are people who are going to have values that are rooted in things that are logical and rational. They're going to be um, material goals, tangible goals, values, general basic values that are all about long-term sustainability. Yeah, long-term sustainability, because it's in the 10th house, and that's a Saturn location, and so Saturn is all about these are the rules, these are the goals, but these are the steps, these are the rungs on the ladder that I need to reach my goal. And I can't skip any of those rungs, right? If there's a rung missing, I may try to hike my leg up there. Or if there's somebody above me, I might try to even sometimes cheat. Not saying that that's you, but for people and humans in general, when we get our eye on the prize and we're going after it, we can sometimes, use someone else's head as a rung on a ladder. And so the caution, not that you would need this for you, Leo, because for Leo energy, it's cautious Taurus energy. Taurus is cautious. And Capricorn energy, which is your 10th house, Saturn, same thing. Saturn, 10th house, Capricorn. When I talk about it that way, it's usually very ethical. Yeah, it's usually if we're talking about being expressed on a high level, it's going to follow the rules. It's going to say, hey, there's no cheating here. There's no bending the rules here. So what else do you have in your Taurus? What else do you have in your 10th house, Leo? Because you've got Taurus there. So the eclipse happens like at 16. Yeah. And so, yeah, Uranus is there too. I have to talk about people because 10th house is people also. Remember I said boss energy? So it can be someone who you consider authority figure in your life. So like if you're at a job, it's your boss, right? It's your supervisor. Some people, their parents can be their authority figures. An authority figure can be anybody who represents themselves as being the person who's like, hey, but these are the rules. So it could be like people who are like policemen. They're supposed to keep the rules and the regulations in the street and enforce laws. So we may see them as an authority figure. It could even be somebody of the clergy for you. Just depends in your life. You know, some people have older siblings where they kind of feel like, oh, they're the boss of me because they're older, that sort of thing. So the job could be something, but dad energy and mom energy, even a lot of folks, the mother role. How many moms are out there playing the role of both the mom and the dad? Yeah, that happens big time. So it could be those people. Now, I brought that up because I'm talking Uranus. And Uranus is super similar to your Saturn, your 10th place. There's information about our values. If I didn't say banking for Taurus, yeah, I meant to say that, like somebody who's got Taurus in the 10th house, banking, Taurus, 10th, banking, absolutely. Or managing funds professionally for others, even if it's not within banking, like there's a whole different gamut of options I would imagine as far as loan officers, and that's also banking, but finances in investments and just, yeah, I'm not into all that. I don't know enough to talk about it, but you know where I'm going. So Taurus and Saturn rules and regulations with money and banking. And so we think of the Fed in the United States, the what is that? The International IFM, International Financial Monetary something, or maybe it's IMF. I don't know. So it's like just rules within our values and new rules, likely surprises and shocks, possibly. And it has to do with our future, your future, Leo, because it's in your 10th house. So this will have the future involved with your goals and your money and what it is that you value. Right. So we can't forget for Taurus energy, it's also love. Now I don't talk about it in the 10th house, love as so much as being marriage. However, if it's a goal and an ambition, it could be marriage. It absolutely could be. Some folks may even get a sudden surprise. There could be somebody who's proposing to somebody with a 10th house placement. That's a possibility. Now, because it's Taurus and it's near that north node, it represents, something new coming through. And yeah, with Uranus, it's exciting. It's different, right? Uranus is like, I got to think outside the box. It's going to likely challenge my values because it's Uranus and Taurus. So it might be, there might be some friction. It could be definitely be unsettling, especially if you have something near those degrees. So if you're listening and you don't know, just let me know, like just comment to me down below and I can figure that out for you. Like that's the purpose of this channel, right? To help people decipher and figure things out. Now, I have to talk about the eclipse in terms of it being a full moon, right? I kind of talked about the Taurus energy. I talked about Uranus, the values, and then the North Node in our future. But what about the eclipse itself, right? So the eclipse itself, we're releasing. Bottom line, it's a release. It's like, okay, so we're releasing something. If it's Taurus, it means you're releasing a value, possibly something or somebody that you loved, which seems strange. It's like, wait a minute, I thought you said we're getting something new, something's coming in. It's a combination. It is. It's just like the last eclipse where it was a Scorpio eclipse. It's not identical to the last eclipse, don't get me wrong, but the Scorpio one was a big release, but it was really rooted in emotions and the past, right? And a lot of it being energetics, a lot of it being wounds possibly, or bonded relationships, like we're just releasing, we're done. I know that's not for me anymore. Drama, goodbye, right? Taurus is like, I have these new values now. And because I have these new values, there will be choices that I'm making, right? And possibly encounters, whether it's people or events that we're just coming across where we're recognizing with the full moon energy, wow, if that was a year ago, I would have said yes to that. And now it's a year later, right? We all lived through a whole lot. Uh, that definitely is not for me anymore. So it's almost like, there are emotions involved because it's a full moon, right? Full moon definitely is emotions. But because it's the energy of Taurus, which is what I desire, there's something internal where I don't desire that anymore. Right. Like it's just not in you anymore. That desire for that thing or that person or whatever it was for your goals and your ambitions, possibly your work. And this also could include, like I've mentioned in the past, this could be something even in terms of what you love and who you love. You know how sometimes people sit down and are like, well, if I'm looking for a spouse, they've got a list, the deal breaker things. Some of those deal breaker things have changed for people. Right, right. And so that's kind of a little bit of this. So the keywords for Venus: peace and beauty, harmony. Venus likes things to be beautiful. So I can't, we got to think about makeup and hair, accessories, clothing, delicious food that should look beautiful as well. Taurus is very creative. We spoke about the money, but what about the earth, climate change? What about the animals and food in general? Right? So there likely will be something that we may be hearing about in general, in terms of just legislation in the states, new things coming up that will help the earth, that will, new things happening that involve technology, by the way, because that's Uranus. It's technology, it's science. So we got to think solar, we got to think advancements of humanity. So it's Nikola Tesla. So that's my, and Da Vinci. And it's all these people who created things that, think of the airplane, right? The Wright brothers. Absolutely. Think about the ability for people to get off the ground and be in an Airbus, right? And to travel as though they literally have wings. Amazing, right? It's also social causes, right? So science, so we can't forget nuclear inventions, the awakener. It's something's unconventional, something that goes against the grain. That is Uranus energy in your 10th house. Right. So you being willing to go against, because you got Uranus here, being willing to go against authority figures and to challenge authority figures. We all have this somewhere, right? But for you, because it's in your placement of your goals and your ambitions, right? And your goals and your ambitions don't always have to be tied into professional, right? It's just something that you would stay persistent and keep working at, whether you got paid to do it or not. But the thing with this placement in a 10th house, anytime we talk about anybody's 10th house, if you persist, if you don't give up, one day you will get acknowledged. Saturn rewards. Rewards, yes, but it's a long time coming. It's something that's very slow, very gradual. You work by piecemeal here, Leo. You work by piecemeal. Okay, so now let's get you a card and see what the cards have to say. See how they line up for your eclipse, your Taurus eclipse. This is for Leo. I mixed the cards really thoroughly beforehand. And I'm going to just be quiet for a minute so I can hear what they're guiding me to do, because I've been getting a lot of that really strongly lately. And I'm being told to stop and to grab the card off the bottom. Okay. I don't know if you saw me do that. Yeah, went like that. Hopefully you did. Yeah. Anyway, let's see what we got. I see what you got. Looky, looky. Do you see that? You got the Adam and Eve card. You got the sun and the moon. Leo, you got like a new moon card. This is fascinating. Authority figures, because you got mom and dad in this card. Look at this. I know those people holding hands, standing with their back against a tree, and yeah, all naked and such, like a husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend type of card, right? Think about it energetically. Okay. See the sun and the moon in the two bottom corners? It's a new beginning, and it does involve the masculine and the feminine. Now, it also involves the past. It involves mother energy, because when you see the moon, think feminine. Okay. Feminine energies. So this is nurturing, this is home, and this is family. Okay. It's typically associated with mom and the mother wound and the past. This energy is masculine. Okay. It's bright, because it's got the sun. It's all about how I'm going to express. It's very bold, right? Sometimes it can be like that in your face energy. And if it's too close, remember it's the sun, it can burn, right? Now, there's work being done, even though they're facing different directions. They're not giving up. You see that? They've got both their hands together, all right? And they're committed. There's a commitment here. And in a way, it is definitely an what's the word I'm hearing? It's a merge, MERGE. It's a merge of the past and the future. It's a merge. Okay. So there's something here because the moon is also about releases, right? We're talking about releases. So releasing wounds from the past, possibly, releasing things from childhood, possibly, whether it's, I don't know, wounds, mother wound, possibly. And mother wound can mean a lot of different things for a lot of people. Okay. You know, Leo, however many different Leos are listening, think about that. Think about your childhood. Think about your relationship with your mom. Think about your ability to be a mom, even if you're a male. Absolutely. Masculine, feminine energies exist in all of us. Okay. And so when we say moon, we think that person who would nurture, right? Nurturing. It's like mom and just being near mom, and mom, moms feed their babies, they clothe their babies, they encourage them, right? And so we would say, oh, sometimes it's very emotional, but then the other energy, the sun, is optimistic, it's bright, it's forward thinking, it's more about let's do something. The other energy is a little bit more almost passive, right? It thinks, it feels, it's FEEL. It might make its choices based on its feelings, where the sun is more, it's going to be like looking at it, right? And analyzing it, but like weighing it out and saying, well, does that make sense? Right. And it really is about its individuality. When we think about sun energy, there's a little bit of the ego involved, right? When we think about the sun, absolutely is. So this is a merging of these energies together. Okay. And this is your 10th house of goals, career, and ambition. And it looks like whatever your goals are, you're not considering just your personal goals. You have a partner in this, right? There's a partner somewhere. Okay. Even if it's you saying, wait a minute, I don't have a partner, right? For somebody who might be listening, thinking, I don't have a partner. We all have the fast masculine and feminine within us. So we do have a partner. Even when we think we're alone, we are never alone. We're never alone, even though we may think we are. We have so many degrees to our being. Okay. You have the big you have all the little bitty bits of you, the 360 degrees of you that you have conversations with, that you have debates with sometimes, that you feel like, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. Yes, you do. And you feel like this nudge or this push, or you may even hear the voice of stillness at times, right? So there is something or someone there where there's a part of you that you have to acknowledge and recognize, okay? And it's your feminine energy or your masculine energy. And you're learning how to work with both of them. You're learning how to establish harmony for your goals and your future for the long term so that you can make it, so it can be sustainable. Leo, let's talk about your new beginning. Now that looked like a new beginning, didn't it? That was like a new moon card that you got. But this next new beginning is a different area of your life. Yeah, this next new beginning, let me check my notes real quick. Okay, so this is a location of your chart that involves possibly a romantic other. It's fifth house energy. So fifth house energy is romance, right? It's like having a good time with your body. So it can be getting very physical with your body. And for some, if it's not romance, it could be sports. It could be athletics. It could be walking, jogging, traveling in some way, because you have Sagittarius energy, right? A new beginning. Sagittarius, think of all the Sagittarian keywords. For Sag, we have beliefs, truth, freedoms, our judicial system. This is also spirituality and religion. And it's really complex how that is all in the same location, how all that is encompassed in Sagittarius energy. Because unfortunately, we see how religions kind of embed themselves within the laws, Right. And so, yeah, I'm sorry. Sagittarius energy is that. It's ninth house energy. It's Jupiter energy. Think of all the same keywords, right? Sag, Jupiter, Sagittarius. So it's higher learning and education. And when I say judicial system, this is that location where they're writing laws, where they're making laws. And so it's philosophies on life. And so when people create those philosophies or come about their belief system, right? How can you dissect your spirituality, your religion out of the law, out of the truth? For many, they cannot do that, right? But the higher octave of Sagittarius energy is the universe. And the universe encompasses every single religion. Right. Which is why you have religions and then you have spirituality, right? Religions or one religion excludes another religion, typically, right? So we go to that next level and it's like, well, spirituality is like a blanket over all religions. It encompasses all of them. So because it's Jupiter and Sagittarius in the ninth house, it says, I recognize and honor that you have the right to believe what you want. However, how do we function when we get involved within societies and we have rules and regulations? Aha, right? We see a lot of things happening in different countries around the world, including the US, where those lines are blurring, right? And we're seeing a lot of change, hopefully sweeping changes for the better, but it's a rough ride until then. It's a rough ride until then. So this placement, being in your fifth house, isn't just your romancing, having a good time with my body and being very physically active and traveling with the body long distances, possibly in an airplane or a long road trip coast to coast type of thing. Because think Sag was horseback back in the day before cars, horsepower, cars, right? That was Sagittarius on the horseback. Sagittarius is also like the sharpshooter, absolutely, because you think about horseback and you think about the bow and arrow, right? And you see the picture of the Sagittarian on the horse, shooting that arrow up to the sky. So looking to accomplish goals, but expanding the mind, opening up in that higher education, right? So some other Sagittarius keywords, publishing. So when we think of people and who would be in Sagittarius, this could be somebody who's literally vlogging or who's published a book, right? So it's not someone who's just writing in a journal, but they've actually published something. So for Sag, it's like teaching, and is also the commentator, not the reporter, but somebody who's, remember in the newspaper back in the day, maybe they still have it. I haven't seen a paper in a while, but remember you could read like the editorial section. And that meant that when you're reading the editorial section, it was the editor's perspective, right? It wasn't like, hey, I'm the reporter on the scene and I'm giving you just the facts, which, yeah, nowadays that's all we pretty much hear is everybody's perspective. We're never really getting the news anymore, right? We have to really work at it, and we can do it. We can find it if we work at it. But so this is Sag. All that is Sagittarius. So we think of what people these are. There could be people within the government. This could be a clergy member because it's Jupiter, and that is religion. Somebody of the cloth. It could even just be like a spiritual guru. Doesn't he have to be a person in religion, but somebody that you look up to, someone who seems wiser than you. But it definitely will have either a spiritual tone to it because it's Jupiter and Sagittarius energy. Okay. Now, it could also be what was I hearing? Those folks who literally, they're lawyers, but they're like Congress members, people who write the laws. Yeah. So your representatives. And I'm going to repeat a quote I heard this morning. Beau of the fifth column, he made a mention, and I thought that's really awesome. I'm praying I can remember it right now. Somebody asked him a question about what is important. What do you think is the number one thing in this midterms? Yes, climate change is huge, right? It's a big deal. But at the end of the day, don't you want someone? It was either represent you or rule you, is what he said. You choose. And what I love about this Leo is that the fifth house is Leo. So having Jupiter, having Sagittarius in your fifth house, it's almost as though you have an expansive plethora, like a rainbow of different ways to be creative. Okay. So tap into that, especially if you ever have moments of stress. And this is a new beginning for you. So maybe you're on new journeys already. Maybe you'll be doing more traveling in general. Again, look at those degrees in your chart. That will let you know if you're having a brand new beginning, as far as maybe having even a child or birthing something, because it's the fifth house. Let's pull a card, okay, and see Let me shuffle. And we're going to shuffle again because that's what I'm being told to do. And let's do that real quick for you. And they said to split the deck this time. So let me just show you that because I always feel weird when I do it like this and I don't show you guys. I split the deck, put that away. They said take this one right on top. Will do. Got to make sure there's one there. There is. Look at that card. Wow. Woohoo. Interesting card. It's not as horrible as it looks. And when I say horrible, it just looks dark, right? I want you to just recognize, okay, that this is Saturn on the card and Virgo on the card. And they get along. They trine each other. Yeah, they get along. What I will say is there's some authority figure present here and responsibilities and duty and work. All right. So possibly somebody at the job, right? But there's a trine. Trine says ease. Something is going to bring ease. Virgo is the daily routines. It's communications because it's Mercury in Virgo, but it's the details. It's the tasks. It's, I got to keep track of things. I've got to write these, it's lists. Just think lists and projects. So lists and projects. Yes. And see, it's Saturn on the other side of the card. So it's long-term goals and ambitions. This lines up really nicely with what we just talked about for the eclipse for you. But this is a new beginning. This could be new work for some of you. Now, the card itself, it's almost as though time is a really big element here. Okay. Saturn rules time. We always talk about it as far as goals and ambitions and jobs and and career and vocation, like I spoke about in the beginning. But this card gives it sort of a deadline to it because of the what looks to be like the Grim Reaper over there in the corner, like in the cemetery, and running out of time. So possibly dealing with somebody older, possibly feeling as though you're running out of time, possibly just making sure that Mercury is keeping track of the schedules, right? The itineraries, the schedules, the time, like calendars, absolutely Virgo and calendars. But because of the way she's dressed, it's also got something to do with stuff around the home and domestic, because that's Virgo, right? So cleaning around the home, food, just taking care of the house, things that ironing, whatever, washing the clothes, drying the clothes, like really a big increase in domestic stuff is what this shows. But there's something that's bringing an ease for you because it's Virgo and Saturn energy. Just remember, anytime Saturn's involved, there's usually a reward in some sort and usually a material. Again, this is a lot of earth energy. So something in the tangible and the material here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.